Yo, what's going on, guys? Markstrom here, and today we're going to be starting a series that has been heavily requested for a very long time. Basically, the idea is you guys are going to be able to submit your raids to me, potentially those that didn't go 100% your way, or perhaps you lost some sort of encounter, and you want my take on how to improve your playstyle and your capabilities to win fights in general. It's definitely going to be PvP focused. As I assume that that's what most people have the vast majority of their problems with in Escape From Tarkov. So I think the way that I'm going to do this, however, is I'm going to take a look at these raids live, meaning that I'm going to have no idea what actually occurs in the raid. Everything that I'm seeing is for the first time, and I think this is the most genuine and fair way to analyze things, because this way, I'm not some guy who's giving you 20/20 hindsight, right? This is my genuine advice that I would do in the moment, and that way we can see whether or not my advice pans out. Anyway, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's jump into it. All right, for our first raid, we're going to be taking a look at a submission from FC Doomsday. And basically what I've required is for every submission to include what their loadout is, what their objective is for the raid, and of course the footage itself. So taking a look at FC's setup here, I'm a big fan of what he's done. It's very similar to what I would do. He has included an AK with the absolute best ammo. He's invested in ammunition that has high pen, high damage, that is able to one-shot nearly any helmet in the game with high proficiency, which allows him the best odds possible in all PvP situations. So he's done this alongside a nice little Glock 17 sidearm. This will help combat any issues that he runs into with larger squads if he gets himself into a pinch, utilizing only these 30-round magazines, as I assume 60-rounders aren't quite accessible yet. I believe his level is somewhere around the low 20s. I really like the armored rig that he's utilizing. This is my favorite one for early game setup right now in 0.12. It is a level 4 armor. It protects both your chest and your stomach. It repairs well, and it's relatively inexpensive, coming in around 47,000 rubles from Ragman. He's also chosen to go with ears, utilizing those contacts, which I believe is the second most important thing behind your ammunition selection. Incredibly valuable towards making the right decisions in raid. Other than that, his meds are hotkeyed. He has painkillers in his 4 slot, CAR in his 5 slot, which will both heal and bandage at the same time. And of course, in the Gamma, he has extra meds, a 5-use splint, and the 5-use CMS for blacked out limbs. So he is ready to rock. One little side thing that I'd like to mention that I also noticed while we're loading in here is his use of a balaclava. On a map like Shoreline with a lot of foliage, I'm a huge fan of covering up your face. I find that the contrast of your face against the foliage is the first thing that I spot on opposing players, so covering that up is, in my opinion, hugely important, especially on Shoreline, woods, etc., anywhere you have a ton of foliage. So it looks like he's gotten a really great spawn to start out with here to complete his signal quest. I believe the only part that he has left is to see the satellite or walk near the satellite over at the weather station. It seems like he's already hit up the one on the top of the west wing at the resort. So it should be pretty simple. We'll take a look at his pathing here. It looks like he's switching back and forth between his pistol and his rifle. I would assume the pistol use here, despite being in the big field, is to allow himself to move a little bit quicker, get a jump on other spawns, and also conserve some stamina. Now that he's out in the big field, it looks like it's rifle only. I like this. He was checking off to his right-hand side, basically knowing where the other spawns are on the map and where he expects other players to be. Nobody's going to be on top of the weather station already, as he got the most prime spawn. We will see what his pathing is up here. I think I personally would have preferred to go around to the west side, really remove myself from anybody having the potential to get shots on me as I climb this hill. It's a little bit scary. I am slightly cheating here. I will admit, he did mention in his message to me that he has a firefight around the 15-minute mark in raid. So I assume that he's not going to come in contact with anybody here. Just not going to be punished for this decision making. to go up the east side of the hill, and that's all right. So at some point, we will skip ahead to where he gets into that action. So it is possible for him to be taking shots from the east at this point. People spawn on the woods there to the right, and it's a little bit scary. He does pre-pop pains here before he goes any further, just in case he gets, fractured limb, fractured leg. This will allow him to move at full speed by just resetting his sprint right off the bat. I do like this. I do recommend this for any PvP encounter. When you expect PvP at any point, if you're moving into a hot spot like the weather station that you know people rush often, pre-popping pains is a very, very, very useful mechanic. You won't see me do it very often on stream. This is more of a say as I do, or do as I say, not as I do situation, because it does affect the quality of stream. As you can see, the additional sharpness that the game adds has made this a little bit more pixelated, maybe not as great to view. But yes, for those of you guys who are not broadcasting, pre-popping pains before any PvP encounter, if you can afford it, I highly recommend it. And I'm almost certain that you will come out way ahead financially as a result of doing it and end up winning more fights. Notice the little full auto flick there as he's moving up into the second floor, just in case anyone was playing that tight corner. I do like that. I probably would have put on full auto before breaching in at all, as you never know. But again, he did have the most advantageous spawn, and the likelihood of somebody already being here is pretty slim. So it looks like he's trying to stay super hyper aware. He's not looting any of these boxes right off the bat. He just runs over the signal, so he will have the quest complete there. Unfortunately, this quest is slightly bugged for those of you guys who are expecting some sort of confirmation. It does not tell you when you complete the quest when running over this signal here. So hopefully we can get that fixed in the near future. For Battle State, please, and thank you. So again, notice he keeps checking over towards that east. He heard a couple of shots. He stopped for a second, tried to process where those shots are coming from. It's important anytime you hear shots to start creating that mental map. Hugely, hugely important, because that's valuable information this early in the raid to keep track of other players and what their potential pathing might be and where you can expect them in the near future as you progress through the raid. He's scouting out on the ledge here. This does make me nervous to sit. This is a spot that is often checked, or at least I very frequently check. This should probably be a quick rundown. I would sprint down these rather than walk. Again, easy to get picked off there. And no reason not to when you're sitting at full stamina. So he decides to path on the south side of the complex. I think this is a good decision. Reason being, a lot of people approach from the north, and this is also going to give him a really nice overlook on everything to the southwest and west, where players will potentially be over at the power station. One thing that's starting to make me nervous that I will note is that it is getting dark out very quickly, very rapidly in his raid. You can see there's not a whole lot of sunlight left. So it will be important that he decides he wants to extract sooner rather than later. Again, this is a mid-economy kit, if you will. He didn't bring in anything like night vision to afford him any capabilities in the dark here, outside of just trying to skirt his way along the edge. That will probably be around his only option at a certain point as it gets real dark. So FC has clearly memorized some of these new stash locations. Never know what you can get inside of those. Some of them can be quite nice. Seems to be a bit hit or miss, but the potential is there for decent loot as well as decent ammunition. So he checks his extracts. He sees Pure Boat Tunnel Rock Passage. With daylight waning, I would probably personally take the coast all the way to Tunnel at this point, rather than deal with the resort. But it looks like he is going to move northward here. He's doing so very carefully. He is utilizing a nice defilade to path here. Goes up and over, sticks close to the bush. It does seem like with his pathing, he is always very aware to maintain some sort of cover or have the option to dive into cover. So rather than cut straight across there, he's moving to this little rock formation. I can definitely appreciate that. I like the fact that he is pathing up and around the resort itself, kind of listening for gunshots, listening to see if there's any fights happening inside of it, inside of the complex. I much prefer this to running directly up that rock ledge on the southeast corner. That being said, I'm really nervous about his current location versus his extracts. Again, the only guaranteed extract on the map is the tunnel. And given the amount of daylight left, I do think the right move was to have complete the task and move along the coast towards the exit. As again, his capabilities to fight in the dark are going to be difficult. He does have that flashlight. I wouldn't say that it is the most useful piece of kit in the dark. I know it's a little counterintuitive, but I'd argue that flashlights can be equally harmful as they are beneficial in nighttime encounters. The reason, of course, for that is, as you can see more clearly, you're giving yourself away to anyone in the area quite easily. It's very easy to spot the glaring flashlight and allow someone to potentially pick you off without ever having an opportunity to defend yourself. I'd say the most viability for flashlights is close encounters. If two people already know that they are there, they're in a hallway, they're around a corner from each other, then the potential to utilize a flashlight to inhibit their ability to see you or see past your flashlight and hit the shot that they're looking for, that is a very viable strategy. However, as he paths through the foliage here, the odds of him having that opportunity are pretty slim. It looks to me like he is wrapping the north side of the map here to extract at the rock passage, potentially. We'll see if it's going to be open or not. This is usually indicated by green smoke. Again, his placement of his PMC between the rock wall and this hill on his left, it is ideal, I would argue. There's the potential to run across other people who are wrapping the edge of the map. However, that being said, you certainly don't want to be silhouetting over the top as the sun's going down, giving yourself away. Found ourselves a little scav, a little sniper scav. I'm a big believer in not killing off sniper scavs. I think that they are best used as an alarm. I understand that he sees that rock passage, though, is not open. There is no green smoke, so he's going to potentially have to travel through this area. You know, it's a toss-up whether or not you want to path in a different fashion to avoid the sniper scav. That's usually my main goal. But since this quest is already completed, and that would be significantly out of his way at this point to path anywhere else, to go around the resort, maybe back the way he came, or through the resort, which is dangerous. I somewhat understand killing off the sniper scav here. I'm worried that that is going to give him away, though. Those unnecessary gunshots will potentially get you killed if somebody decides to move in on this location. It looks like he's going to go over the bridge here. So I'm going to pause it there. So he gets into a counter. So let's talk about this. This is the encounter that he had mentioned somewhere around the 16-minute mark. So you'll notice that it seemed like they started shooting at each other at the exact same time, right? So nobody necessarily got the spot advantage. I would argue that the other player was potentially more prepared. Having heard the shots, that's obviously why they did come over. So we definitely we brought attention to ourselves by shooting at that scav there. So that is definitely a negative. The other guy was definitely more on his guard, expecting a player in the area, where FC wasn't necessarily as prepared. So that does make a big difference in a firefight. That being said, the shots looked okay. You will see if we run this back here. Let me go to right before the firefight starts, and we'll actually watch this in 0.25 speed. And this is just the first part of the firefight. I would say both players are still alive. I don't think he got the kill. But let's put this into 0.25 quickly. And watch the firefight. So you'll notice the other player has broken both legs. There's not a whole lot of cover near FC at this point, and with both legs broken, the last thing he's going to do is pop a painkiller here. The painkiller that he pre-popped earlier has obviously expired at this point. We'll see what these shots look like. So he ADS's, which I'd argue you definitely have to do. That player is not only difficult to see, but far enough away to warrant the 1x ADS for sure. He's going to want to hold shift here to try and steady his aim, reduce some of that weapon sway, which I assume that he's doing. But unfortunately, with the hits that have been taken, you'll notice he's completely out of stamina. He's going to sway a ton here. It's going to be very difficult to get these shots on point. They look decent. They look a little bit low. But you can see that his optic is jumping all over the place. Very, very difficult to win this fight at this point. And again, I argue that a lot of that has to do with this player's preparedness to know, A, that there's a player near, and his ability to get shots onto FC's body just all the little bit quicker makes a huge difference and puts FC in a very difficult position. One thing that may be viable in this situation, not especially since he's lost both legs already, I would argue that FC could have gone prone here. This would have been a decent opportunity for a prone play. This player's really staying in the pocket. They're not moving a whole lot. There's no cover for them to jump behind. If FC goes prone here, he could stabilize his aim a little bit and also force the other player to adjust their aim, maybe giving him a slight advantage, especially since until the muzzle flash goes off, it's incredibly difficult to see where the other player is, right? So he wouldn't notice the prone happening immediately. This is actually a pretty solid opportunity to use, what a lot of people would call the COD drop shot. But I do find that it would be pretty effective in this situation, given FC's already lack of mobility, his inability to stabilize his aim, his zero stamina, and again with the nighttime situation, I think it could be very effective. So he is landing some shots. You hear the groan of the opposing player here, no doubt about it. That does not mean that this player died by any means. We will see how FC interprets it here. Let's go back to normal speed. And I believe that was the last bullet in his magazine. You could hear it click right at the end. So he goes for the reload. His pathing is scary. He's not cutting himself off from where this player could be right now. There's a lot of real estate here. So I didn't hear the player move at all, but that pistol shot suggests that they moved down and off to the right. So that is very scary. It looks like he pops the car here. That could be a fat finger looking for the painkillers, obviously, so that he can be more mobile. That is just something that you have to be very careful of. Use precision when hitting your meds. If you have problems with this, there's nothing stopping you from hotkeying your meds one apart from each other, right? So you could go 4, 6, 8 even. I know it's not the most comfortable thing in the world to do, but if you have problems and you're constantly fat fingering, it is possible, especially if you have two meds. It's not that difficult to hit 4 and 6 separately. So that would be my recommendation there to avoid that. Again, so the opposing player has whipped out a pistol, already shot at him once, very scary. Keep in mind, FC does have a pistol here, and that would have been an okay play. I feel like because of the groan, FC thinks that they dropped. Had they assumed that they were still alive or still heard footsteps, I think it's very possible that FC takes out the pistol here. That would be the play, or at least for the sake of just being careful. Again, just because you hear the groan, there's no indication that the other player is dead. I understand trying to get the PK off, but I think that rather than the reload, I would have liked to see the pistol come out. Right? Otherwise, what is the point of bringing it? And here you see that a couple of more of those pistol shots. It's almost impossible for FC to be able to left-click cancel his med. It is possible to do. If you're ever in a firefight and you realize, oh crap, I shouldn't be medding right now, I'm getting pushed, this person has shots on me, you can left click to cancel your med animation and try and get your gun back out. However, it does take some time. It is not an instant put away. And in this situation, there's just not enough time for FC to be able to react, and he gets took here. So again, to recap, I would say that FC got punished for a few different things. One of which is not going towards extract when time of day is waning, after having completed the objective, right? He completed what he came into the raid to do, and therefore to make the most of what he brought in. He could have exited to PvP and loot on another raid, right? That being said, So he could have had better pathing. He really could have avoided shooting that scav, that sniper scav that did draw attention. And I think it had a massive impact on whether or not he was prepared, or at least prepared enough for that fight versus his opponent. It's hard here to analyze the combat because, of course, he did shoot at that sniper scav, as you see the fatal hit there. So it's almost impossible to intelligently break down how that PvP fight went if it's not the only fight. That being said, I think he did land some shots. He clearly blacked something out with the groan, or at least fractured it. Could have been an arm. That would be my guess based on the shots that were landing. And unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. Again, I would say instead of reloading, I would have liked to see the pistol just for safety. He did get the reload off, but again, the possibility of the player pushing him in that during that reload could have been high. Clearly, the opposing player switched to the pistol versus a reload. I'm a little bit bummed that we didn't hear the footsteps of the other player. That could unfortunately be on the shoulders of the game, especially considering we did our due diligence of bringing in contacts there. I would have liked to be able to hear those footsteps, as we were very close. Clearly, though, they could have crept. It is possible that they just crouched, pressed forward, made as little sound as possible while they were taking their pistol out, and then saw a silhouette on the hill. I believe that has to have been what occurred, assuming all things in raid, including the sound, were working as intended. Overall, there's a couple of things that could have been done differently to make this more than just a near success. First of all, time of day, right, for raid selection is very, very important. If you are cutting it close and you've already completed your objective, make sure you head towards the nearest guaranteed extract. However, if Rock Passage was open, I assume that this would have been a success. Again, use scavs as a beacon for other players. Let them alert you of PMCs or hostile player scavs in the area, and then move on that. And of course, if you can't have a confirmation on the kill, if you can't visually see that the opposing player went down, you should of course assume that they are still up and play everything accordingly, including your pathing and what you choose to do with your PMC's hands at the time. Make sure that you're on guard and able to throw shots back, assuming that you get re-peeked and or pushed. Overall, a big thanks to my man FC Doomsday for being our guinea pig in this series. If you guys want to submit a raid to me, please do so. Would love to have your content. Again, of course, this is for raids that you feel like could have been better. If you send me a raid that is incredibly impressive, you wipe a 5-man squad, I will send you back a, hey, nice job, man, but I probably won't use it for this series. So for those of you guys that are struggling, this is more so for you. It's important to note that I'm not roasting you guys for bad plays. All the criticism will be constructive, and hopefully you guys will be able to learn from it, not only you, but everyone else watching the series. So I'm really excited about it. I think my ability to analytically depict these situations can provide a great framework for helping others improve. And I'm excited for the future of the series. So again, if you want to submit a raid to be reviewed, I think the best way to do so is record it. Make sure that sound is on the recording. Try and have the recording be as clean as possible with regards to resolution and, of course, bitrate. Please upload it to YouTube as a private video and send the link to me along with what your loadout was. And, of course, more importantly, your objective for the raid and what you were trying to accomplish, because this does change quite a bit as to how you should play the raid. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Let me know what you guys thought of the video in the comments section below. And of course, be sure to subscribe for more content like this. If you guys want to be notified when my videos go live, click the bell next to the subscription button and join the notification squad. Also, be sure to tune in the live stream every day of the week, starting at 7 a.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/Markstrom. Thanks for watching, guys.